Welcome to Watch Workbench. In this video, we're going to be checking out two new watches that just showed up here from the Aliexpress spring sale. And these two watches are not homage watches. These are both original designs and I think great values for your money. Now, if you've seen the couple other videos I've put up, I have said that I'm not a big fan of homage watches, but truth be told, I did buy a few during the sale. Now, I do kind of geek out on original designs, especially coming off AliExpress and coming out of China, because for the longest time there's kind of been this stereotype that Chinese watches are all knockoffs or that they're all homage watches, and these are original designs. Now the first one here, and I'm going to butcher words because I'm an American, that's what we do, but this is a Aesop Tourbillon watch, and normally, you can't get that kind of a movement in a watch for under thousands of dollars, and these are dropping into the sub $300 range, and they've gained something of a reputation for actually holding up. When these first hit the market a couple of years ago, a lot of people are saying those are never going to last, but you can check out videos all over the place of people that have been wearing these things frequently and not having problems with them. The other one is a Merkur Pierre Paulin, and this is a jumping hour watch. Another kind of unique movement that you usually don't see in watches in this price point. These you can pick up between $110 and $130. So let's get a close-up on both these watches. I do want to give you some close-up views. I'm also going to throw them on the Timegrapher so you can actually see how well these things are running coming straight in from the mail. So let's get some close-ups. Now the first one I wanted to take a look at was this one. This is the Pierre Paulin, the Jump Hour watch. And this one has kind of a unique movement in it, a less than typical movement. And that is that if you notice here, there is no hour hand. There's only a minute hand and a little sub-second hand down there. And the hands are blued. I don't know if those are actually heat blued or if they're just made blue. And I got it here with the salmon colored dial. Now it has a couple different things going on the dial. If you look at it, it has kind of these striations in the middle and a nice kind of eggshell sheen on that outside hoop there. This little window up here that on most watches would be the date window, that window is actually the hour window. So you watch as this thing advances, it just moved to 10 and then to 11. So how you read this watch, if you get one of these, you're going to have to kind of relearn how to read a watch. Is you're going to look at that window, that'll tell you 11, and then this hand will tell you the minutes. Now this watch is an automatic watch. It does have a weight in there spinning around, so it does get itself going. It is a non-hacking watch. So pull this guy out, and the second hand continues to move, and you can also hand wind it. Now, I usually, when I get these watches, I usually get them with the bracelet, even though a lot of times the bracelets are junk, and I replace them with a nice leather strap. This one has a unique closure on it. This one, the closure, a little bit different than what I'm used to, is kind of like this. So you put it on your wrist, you bring it around, and you clip it to itself. Now, when I first got this thing out of the box, I took a look at the bracelet, and you know, it's a little flexy, but it grew on me, and I actually like this bracelet. I don't know, I'm sure at some point I'll wind up switching it out, but right now I do actually like this bracelet. It adjusts pretty well into my wrist size, so I can actually wear it on my wrist without it flopping around, and it is pretty easy to adjust. This might not be your taste, but it only costs about $10 more to get the bracelet, and then you have it, you can switch it out to a leather one if that's what you're into. So now the one I'm sure everybody is kind of itching to see, and this is the Asop Tourbillon, and this one is one heck of a watch. I did the same thing here. I got it with the bracelet, and I am not a big fan of these kind of clam style closing bracelets. I've had them on other watches, and I've had trouble with the clasps, but the big thing is that with these ones there are no micro adjustment. You basically can just remove links, and that's all you've got to work with. Now I was fortunate with this one that when I put it on, it actually does fit my wrist quite well, so I don't have an issue here. But if I decide to gain weight or something happens, I'm going to have a problem. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with this one and whether or not I switch it out to a leather strap. Right now, I'm keeping it on this. Now, that being said, this bracelet leaves something to be desired. It is not screws, it's pins. And I don't really like pins. I just always think pins kind of feel cheap. And it's got some play to it. Not a ton, but it's got some play to the strap. So just something to be aware of. Now getting into it here, I'm going to take my glove off for this. Supposedly this is a sapphire crystal. And it is a sapphire crystal. Now the big thing on this, the big selling point is that movement. Like I had mentioned before, earlier in the video, if you're familiar with these kind of watches, these are very expensive movements. And recently, within the last couple of years, this version came out, and this is a Chinese version of a Tourbillon movement, and I can get them in these watches. Now the reason for that movement is you can see in there, you have the balance wheel spinning within a cage, and the cage spins the entire balance wheel assembly. And that was originally developed for pocket watches, because a pocket watch would always be sitting in this orientation in your pocket. So gravity would affect things differently as they worked. With this thing rotating, gravity would basically affect it the same on all sides, and therefore it would kind of counteract the effect of gravity pulling down on one side of the watch. Not as necessary, or not really necessarily at all, on a wristwatch, because your wrist is constantly moving around in different orientations, so gravity is going to be pulling on it in every which way. But it has become kind of a thing because of just how awesome they look. Now the original version of this watch that came out had kind of a starry background with planets on it, and I think they sold a lot of those just because it was the first really affordable watch with these kind of movements in it, but I never grabbed one because I didn't like the dial. And when they came with this more kind of classic looking dial, that was when I decided I had to jump on it. And you can get these things for a pretty good price. Now I will have links for both of these watches down below if you do want to check one of these out for yourself. But both of these watches, although they look good, don't mean anything if they don't run well as well. So now we're going to throw on the Timegrapher and check out how they run. Okay, so the first one we're going to throw on the Timegrapher is the jumping hour watch. So let's throw that on here, get them in place, and start it going. And right off the bat, and we have this in kind of a 45 configuration right now, we're losing 5 seconds a day. The beat error is very low. So this one I'm actually impressed with. So let's do this in a vertical position. So now it's showing a negative 8 seconds a day. And if you're unfamiliar with how Timegraphers work, what this thing basically does is it has a little microphone in there that reads the beats of the watch. And it'll tell us how many seconds per day we're losing. It'll also tell us our beat error and the amplitude. Now these little dots, the closer they are together, the smaller the beat error. And this one's running pretty well at a 0.4 milliseconds. So now let's turn this thing and do face up. And face up's still not bad. We're losing 13 to 14 seconds a day. Our beat error is still going great. So overall, for this guy, I am impressed right out of the box. So now let's throw on our Aesop, our Tourbillon. So on it goes, and we're going to start this one in a face up configuration. And as you can hear, this is a higher beat movement. Now you look there, 0.1 millisecond. Our beat error is ridiculously small, and we're losing 7 seconds a day. So we're actually not doing so bad there either. So this one actually is also running really, really well. So let's stop that, and let's do it in a face forward configuration. And here we're running even better. Holy smokes. 0.0 and a +1. So this thing is cooking in a face forward configuration. So now that we've done these, let's get some more close-ups on these things. Now one thing to note is all of the adjustments on this watch are on the top. So the only way you can adjust this watch is by disassembling the entire thing and pulling the actual movement out of the case and working on it from there. Now the other thing to note is that this one is not a hacking watch. So because that entire thing is spinning, there's no way to adjust it unless you let the entire thing wind down or you release the spring. Fortunately, this watch runs really well, so I'm not going to have to touch that. So now I need your help. I left my gloves on. I look like Mickey Mouse. Let me take these off. I wear the gloves because I also run a DIY channel, lots of wrenching on stuff, and because of all the wrenching I do, you would not want to see my hands up close. But now I got a question for all you. What not homage, so original design watches, have you found on AliExpress, or for that matter, other places, but coming out of China? Because I do think it's pretty neat that all these are coming out of that region of the world now. These are two watches with two movements that you couldn't get typically for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times what these things cost. And as you can see, they run great. Now, there are plenty of videos of people that have had these movements for years and they've been working fine, so I have no reason to believe these movements won't hold up. Are they serviceable? In theory, yes. Could you find somebody to service them? I don't know. And that's why this is a DIY channel. I'm working on that right now, and I'm hoping to have some full videos of servicing some basic movements coming up. But right now we do a lot of tinkering on the channel. So anyway, like I mentioned before, I will have links for these down below. I will have videos coming up on the other watches I got on the sale. We've got a lot of crazy stuff coming up. We are going to be doing some movement swaps, some modifications, some watch building, and I even bought some homage Casio G-Shock watches that we're going to put that whole G and shock thing to the test by dropping them from a drone at 400 feet. So if you want to see videos like that, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you'd like to see on the channel and hit that subscribe button because we're going to have lots more stuff like this and all that other stuff coming your way. And of course, thanks a lot for watching.